I watched a little bit about the military situation in Gaza and enough to know that the buzzardliness of Michael Reagan still holds charm for left wing YouTube, which has been the problem all along. Hamas is just a Muslim political organization that doesn't like occupation. And clearly, because of their ties in the Arab world, consider the civilians of Gaza more expendable than they should, which is why Bibi Netanyahu chose to invest in them, because he feels the same way. In fact, Israel was pretty close to Saudi Arabia when this incident occurred. Well, the retards, the brilliance of the Seattle left have all along been allied to Axis German forces in Hollywood, sucking up to the British royal class like the Beatles. Seattle commended themselves for covering for the AIDS attack, which was part of the fundamentalist tripartite franchise that we saw in Iran-Contra with Michael Foucault meeting with the Ayatollah too. So when you have a ravenous military Christian like Oliver North pulling Nazi Germany partnerships with a degenerate like Michael Foucault, you know what's going on when Fripp and Colin Powell appear on 60 Minutes and suddenly the Sufi dervish of King Crimson is getting a fanny shine from Pat Buchanan over missiles of mass destruction in Iraq. And children lay barren and screaming if they survive in rivers of blood in Syria. It's not rational. It's buzzardly. And of course, they pulled the ideological grenades on the pursuit of happiness over what they claim are indulgences leading to abortion, which is just the metaphysical realm of the three-dimensional sideshow we're seeing in the rebels of Gaza. For them, I have no opinion on the subject. They used Putin-happy Soviet Jewry in the intellectual department at the University of Pittsburgh and a precocious Tubes fan named Andrea Swimmer to sell the degradation of the humanist. Humanist Wattenmaker sneered. And what was Wattenmaker but an Attica State Prison psychiatrist conducting an observation by King Crimson, meaning that compliance was required by the observation tower, where the persona was subjected to successive degradations of the ex-motive, said Pope Carl. By forces impinging on the persona's experience, said Pope Carl. In a Two Virgins Pussy Ball campaign, that Biden chose Obama to triumph over Maduro in the Oliver Stone media show tower that was given tribute at Beirut 2020 by the third place winner of Japan in the ice skates. And Valieva tipped her hat to the fourth dimensional control tower of Ouspensky, Gurdjieff, and David Bowie. So aren't we lucky to have these buzzards in Congress? Well, the educational system that they have in place went by Mark, from Mark Mancine, Mark Mann, and Mark David Chapman, Mark Mann. and Mark Twain of Elmira, where corrections got off the ground in the United States. Mark Twain moved to Elmira. His study is enclosed in glass there, and he had to repay debts. He wrote a letter called Letters from the Earth, which was about a devil who goes to Moscow. No, that's Master and Margarita. Letters from the Earth, the devil writes to an archangel about what he witnesses on earth, and it's a satire. But Mark Twain's repayment as a satirist of debts was something that he was lauded for. Clap, clap for Twain. He worked as an old man to repay his debts. And Labor said, we'll summon a Licky Chops cartel and smother Queerball in pornographic genocide and send in pimp collection from the U.S. military. And he'll be like Mark paying off them debts. And the person who wrote the script was who Mick Jagger tributed when he played in Tel Aviv, and they're now bombing Gaza. But the people in Seattle put out a paper bag because they remember that I was forced to pay for the gas that I was gassed with. Now I have nothing to say about the fundamentalist tripartite except it needs to be schooled about in our history. And it hasn't been because of Louis Lapham's buzzardliness. But I do have something to say about the annihilation fiendishness towards the children of Gaza. So I'm not into the buzzardliness. I think it's ridiculous. And the women who use themselves as bait so they could giggle feminazism at the queer ball were in the pocket of the people who were behind the AIDS attack. They were being bribed. That's not a nice thing to do to a deaf person. You know, I have no opinion about abortion. That's for others to decide. But the fundamentalist tripartite, it knows a weakness when it sees one. It sends him them clowny acts.